Hi, time for another eevBLAB. Haven't done one for a while, and I thought I'd take a question, a beginner question from the eevBlog forum and answer it, because I think this one actually has, a wide-ranging relevance to people. So let's have a look at it. This one comes from Brendan V, who's a newbie on the eevBlog forum. Welcome all newbies on there. Hi, I was hoping for some advice from those in the know. Basically, I have a design and some documentation on an industrial product I would like to develop for a niche application. Whilst I love to play around with electronics as a hobby, designing a robust, safe and quality product is beyond me. I am also limited in the capital investment I can put into the product. I'm stuck in the sense that I have a clear vision and design for the product, but cannot afford to just take that to a design firm and say, here you go, due to the huge investment required. Any tips from any EEs out there about other ways to bring my design to reality? Is freelance an option? Is there a way I can document my design and send it to a company to tender on? And he's going to keep the design secret. Fair enough. All right, so that's an interesting question, and one I've gotten many times over the years, way before the blog, even back when I published my designs in the electronics magazines. I'd have my mailing address in there, my snail mail address, and people would write me letters. I've got this brilliant idea, and can you help me with it? Or give me ideas, how can I bring this to market? And so it's it's an age-old question. It's made easier these days by modern do-it-yourself technologies and the manufacturing, low-cost manufacturing technologies and things like that, but it's still a very interesting question. So first of all, although it does not apply, maybe doesn't apply here, but I gotta say it anyway because it applies in general, is that make sure your idea is original. If it's not original, at least that it has some worthy aspects to it that make it a viable, that solves a problem for a particular customer. And because many times I'm an ideas person, I've got this wonderful idea, and they email me and say, they tell me all about their idea, and 2 seconds of Googling, just sorry, it's already been done, or this because blah 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 blah, and because hey, they haven't even bothered, or they don't know the right industry terms to search for, or something like that. So just make sure it's viable. And a good first step in this, we actually just talked about this on the Amp Hour the other day, so you might want to, that's towards the right at the end, I think it was, the latest episode of the Amp Hour, where we talk about canvassing your customers, canvassing them and asking for their, what do you need? Can this solve your problem, or what are your problems? And Brendan says further on down below, we'll take a look at, he's worked in there in the industry for 20 years, etc. So let's just assume he's done that. But that's an important step to find out if your customer is going to buy this thing. What is it going to solve their problem, etc. Anyway, let's get onto this. How to do this? There's probably 2 main ways you can do this. You can either do it on the cheap, or you can, which includes do it yourself, and basically you manage everything, or you go the professional way and you follow the MBA playbook, and you start a business, you form your proprietary, your incorporated company, and you do your detailed business plan, wank, 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 and you go get a business loan, and the banks think, oh, this is the best idea ever, your business plan is so professional, yeah, we'll loan you the money, here's all the money, go out and do it, and then you go and subcontract a design house, a design bureau or whatever to do the complete design. They will fleece you for every last cent possible, and if you're really, really, really lucky, you might come out of it with a successful product unscathed and not bankrupt. But that's the second one. So I don't recommend doing that, following the MBA playbook. I recommend doing it on the cheap. Do it yourself. Now, this doesn't mean do it all yourself. Now, there's 3 different ways you can do this. Basically, you can actually do it all yourself. You can learn it all yourself, take the time, etc., etc., and not elicit anyone's help at all. And that is certainly possible with, you can learn almost anything online these days, do it yourself. It's very cheap to learn yourself, but hey, it takes time and effort, especially when what Brendan wants here is you know, a professional, safe, polished product. If it's a mains related product, for example, you know, you're not going to do the compliance yourself and things like that. So you've got to, you know, and you want to get it first go through the compliance house or whatever. So, you know, you really have no choice but to get the help of a professional design company slash bureau there. And what's the second one? Lucky I've got a list here. Or you can either do it mostly yourself, but also get freelance help. Brendan was talking about freelance help and stuff like that. Yes, that is certainly possible. And the third option is get a freelance person to basically do it for a cut of the profits. So you're not paying an hourly rate, which can be in the hundreds of dollars per hour. You know, maybe if you go on Fiverr or one of the other job site, you know, one of the other freelancer or whatever sites, yeah, you might be able to, in theory, get people cheap, but are they any good? Is one of the questions. So you really need an electronics design professional who's produced, you know, safe consumer, not necessarily consumer in this case, but safe industrial niche products and things like that, you know, real finished, polished product, a professional product. And this is what Brendan wants. Now, I probably don't recommend that third option of taking someone on as a cut of the profits, because then they'll want to start to control it and this and that, and it just gets all messy. It's like, it can work, but it's better if you can get someone, just pay them an hourly rate and get the job, or a job rate or something, and get the job done. Now, how do you do this? Where do you get the money from? I said, you know, don't go to a bank and get a loan and all that other crap. Okay, that's huge risk, and you're probably gonna, like, the odds are not good. I'm not going to say you're going to fail, but the odds are not good there. The best way to do this is with a pre-sales bootstrapping type technique, because as I said right at the start, if you have already talked to your customer, say, even this is very common in this industry, if you're working for a company, okay, and you can say, hey, I can design, well, it's a bit harder if you're an employee, but say a former company that you used to work for, or you know somebody who works there or something like that, you can say, hey, I can solve your problem with this widget. And if you go show them this widget then and demonstrate that, you know, it can really solve the problem for them, then they might give you some pre-sales, or they might go, hey, we like this, give us 10 units as a trial. Bingo, you'll get some cash, you'll get some, maybe you might get half the money up front or something like that, do a deal, you know, you've got to do some NRE and other stuff, or they might give you all the money up front and say, please deliver. Anyway, you can get some money up front that way, and that's a really good way to go about it. Then you'll have money to hire, but you've got to be sure that you can deliver, and that's part of the risk, etc., etc. So, but that is definitely a good way to do it, and then use the returns from those 10 units or 100 units to bootstrap and sell even more. They'll likely come back and buy more again once you've actually delivered something and proven that you can deliver something, even if it's not perfect. They might go, okay, that was, you know, these 10 are sort of working in a little trial scenario or something like that on the production line. If it's an industrial widget, which Brendan's talking about, industrial type solution, niche application, then they might trial it out on, you know, maybe a little part of their production line or something like that, or whatever it is. They'll trial it out and they go, this looks pretty reasonable, and then they'll start giving you serious cash in a serious contract to deliver more of the product or more of a complete solution or something like that. Now, the problem here is that, as I said, you can, like, it's a big risk, but that's part of doing business. The other way is you just sort of do it yourself, save up enough money and put that money all into a good prototype. Now, this comes down to, sorry, I've had that comment up there all the time. There you go. That's, yep. Brendan replied after a few people replied on the forum and said, here we go, Thank you for all your words of wisdom. It has helped me think through the process. Yes, I have done some searching, and this product does exist in many forms, however, not in the form in which I plan to implement. It's hard to comment any further without going into detail. I have been in this particular industry for 20 years, and innovation in this particular control product hasn't changed since the 70s. The existing hardware in the industry is hard to use, clunky, lacks many of the features that we can utilize in modern day electronics. Now that's interesting, because maybe it hasn't evolved for a reason. Maybe they like simple, robust solutions, or maybe nobody's bothered with that little niche, and that can be a gold mine, right? You can come along with something better, but it's not groundbreaking. It's not a new way of doing it. It's probably just a refined way to do things. And in my experience, that can be a really good solution. If you come along with a nice, I used to be in production engineering, designing automated production test jigs and stuff like that. And that can be like black magic to these people. They're amazed. Like, you come along with it, what's a simple, obvious solution to you, and they go, wow, that's so easy and streamlined, and you get pats on the back and high fives all around, and you can be the hero of the day. And just by having a simple solution in a different way of doing things. Now, the problem here is that you have to have a prototype. You can't go to anyone, be it an investor, be it a design house, design bureau, a freelancer, or whatever, with just, I've got this great idea, can you make it for me? They're just going to roll their eyes and, say some reasonably nice things, but basically thanks, but no thanks. I'm not going to waste my time, because it's a bigger risk. So if you can do as much of the prototype as you can, Brendan says he's a hobbyist, so, fantastic. And it's easy to do professional looking products yourself these days. As I said, the do-it-yourself manufacturing revolution, PCBs are dirt cheap, and PCBs can be used as front panels, off-the-shelf enclosures, so cheap, so professional. Even custom machined enclosures. Go to AliExpress, talk to one of the million extruded aluminium manufacturers out there. They'll do all your punched holes. You want 50 of them, no problem. It'll be like a couple of $100. Like, it's not a huge outlay. Even if you have to order a couple of hundred minimum or something like that, it's not in the tens of thousands of dollars. It's in the hundreds to 1,000 or two, which really, if you haven't got that sort of money to pony up to invest in your idea, then, well, you probably shouldn't be there. You probably should, I don't know, go on Kickstarter or go on Indiegogo and cross your fingers maybe. But yeah, you've got to have a couple of grand to put into something, but you can do a lot with a couple of $1,000 and a lot of time these days, and commitment and enthusiasm. You can do an awful lot. Now, as I said, here we go, let's read the rest of it. I feel my best path is to first develop a prototype to physically show the functionality of the product. Yep. My question would be, how would an engineer consulting house react when I walk in with his beginner hobbyist prototype and ask them to turn it into a commercial product? Do I look like a time waster? How does my prototype have to be... how good does my prototype have to be to be taken seriously? Sure, I can put a development board in a box, connect it to sensors, buttons, and write a program and get a working demo, but is that enough? Yes, it most certainly is. As I said, you can't just turn up with nothing, but if you turn up with a prototype that shows most of the function, it doesn't have to show it all, but it's, if it can show half or most of the functionality crudely that you're after, and if it's sort of, it's obvious to the person, the client, the customer, how that solves their problem, then that's more than good enough. It's orders of magnitude ahead of going in with just an idea and a couple of sketches. Same with a design house, a design bureau, or a freelance engineer that you hire on one of the freelancer sites or find somewhere else via the EEVblog forum. Many people have found advertised for someone to do a job on there, and there's a job section on the EEVblog forum. You can put your people, they'll contact you, put up your thing of what you want. People with that expertise will contact you, etc. And if you can show them a working prototype, plus I think you mentioned documentation as well, if you've got documentation and stuff like that, if you can show the majority of that sort of stuff working, but it needs spit and polish or whatever, that's fine. Engineers, especially professional consulting design engineers, are very good at instantly recognizing how much work is involved in something. They'll look at your prototype, they'll look at the functionality, have a very clear list. This is important, very clear list of what you want to achieve, and don't deviate from that. And because that'll be written into the contract and exactly what you want as a deliverable and stuff like that. They're very good at knowing, look, okay, it lacks this feature, but hey, I can add that with a couple of hours coding. Or okay, it needs to be safety compliance testing. I've done that before. I know it costs $5,000 with what's a name. They'll add that into the quote. I know people who can do that, and or it might need a machined enclosure, it might need a molded enclosure or something like that. And that's the other thing. Be careful when you go and get quotes for this thing. You ask about, can you farm around for quotes? Yes, you most certainly can. If you've got the prototype and you can show them, and maybe if it's a online thing, you might put a video up so that they can show it operating and all your documentation and stuff. And where was I? Mental block. I was going really well there. To be taken seriously, development board in a box, connect. Yes, there are. Be careful when you do this, because you might get a contractor, advisor, freelancer, or whatever, design house to tell you that, oh, you've got to do it this way. You need a $50,000 injection molded tooling and all that sort of stuff, to do this and this, and you need all sorts of stuff. You're only going to make 1,000 of them, and it's an industrial widget, and it doesn't have to look that great. It just has to be, professional, polished, and robust a bit. Then if they're quoting you 50K for tooling for an injection molded case or something like that to look fancy-pantsy, then yeah, no, you've got the wrong person. But likewise, if you want to if your idea is to make 100,000 of these, and they're coming back with, oh yeah, we can use this, extruded aluminium case, and we can get, the holes drilled here, and we can just use wiring and everything, then no, that's not a polished, streamlined solution suitable for manufacturing, 1,000,000 of these widgets, or a couple of 100,000, or even tens of thousands. You might have to put more into how it goes. Most of your time might be spent assembly and testing and stuff like that, and that's the sort of stuff you need to streamline. But if you're making, a couple of hundred industrial widgets, then it's a different ball game. So just make sure that the person is in the same ballpark that your product is. And I guess that comes down to experience. But because you're an electronics hobbyist, you've been working in the industry for 20 years, you should have a good feel for that. But somebody who comes along, somebody who's an ideas person, an inventor, comes along and goes to one of these design houses, they just get fleeced. They'll happily take your money and spend a year on it, and you won't. There's so many horror stories out there of doing the wrong thing. But yeah, you can just get a freelancer, so no problem at all. And as long as you have that prototype, and you can do an awful lot. You can make a professional-looking, polished product with no tooling, virtually no tooling cost at all. Really, $50 for a PCB front panel, whoop-de-doo. And it's got all the holes cut out and everything, and you can wire it inside nice and neat, or you can, use right-angle headers to put things together and stuff like that. It's not hard at all. I've done several videos on that sort of thing. So there you go. It's not hard at all. Has that answered the question? How long have I been going for? Too long. But yes, it's possible. So yeah, I recommend putting as much work in as possible to get that prototype made. See if you can bootstrap like a pre-sale kind of thing to a client, and let them, let the client be your investor, so to speak, rather than, don't follow that MBA playbook, because that's going to end badly, odds on. So yeah, anyway, I hope that helped, Brendan. I didn't waffle on too much. I probably did. Probably didn't even get to the point. Anyway, that's a single take EEVblab. If you want to help Brendan, down below, if you've got comments on the way that Brendan should do this, you know, any more good advice? Does my advice suck? It may very well. So yeah, comment to the EEVblog thread down below. So I'll put the thread that Brendan's got. I won't put a blab thread for this one, a separate one. I don't want to dilute the chat and stuff like that. But anyway, yeah, EEVblab. If you liked it, give it a big thumbs up. If you want me to do this more often, just like a single take thing, answering a beginner question on the beginners section of the forum, not necessarily the beginners section, but yeah, I can do that. Be waffling on too long. Catch you next time.